Hey everybody, welcome back to another Volition stream. About a month ago, we streamed some Red Faction Guerrilla, but that was just on PC, and this game's actually coming out on the Switch very soon. So we're back to take a look at the Switch version, and today on the couch, we've got...
My name is Matt Boynton. I'm a principal designer at Volition, and I was the world design coordinator on Red Faction Guerrilla.
I'm Jeff Hanna. I'm a principal technical artist at Volition, and I was the technical art director on Red Faction Guerrilla.
And we got, over in the control room, we got Mike. Hey, Mike.
Hey guys, Mike Watson here, Senior Community Developer for Volition. Just a quick note about the stream is that Volition was not involved with the Switch port of the game. That was done by Kaiko Studios, but we are supporting it with the stream and talking about some dev stories about the original creation of it. And we'll be showing off a lot of the Switch features today. And I'm going to turn you back over to Josh.
Thanks, Mike. So yeah, this is the remastered version of the game. This came out in PC before. We did the previous RFG stream just for its 10th anniversary like a month or so ago. And several of those people were shocked to see some of the features that are in the game, because I don't know if you know, they didn't, that several things have kind of been added to the game in remastered, specifically the multiplayer backpacks are in single player now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and this wasn't even for this version. I think it was like patched with like the GOG version several years ago. But the in multiplayer, online multiplayer, like the destruction was far more limited, and that like they put the full destruction in multiplayer.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I figure we might as well just like get right into this game. You said you wanted to play a little bit, right?
I'll play a little bit.
All right, cool. So yeah, if we'll switch over here to the game.
Start from the beginning or start from where we are?
You can just start from where you are. I played a little bit so that we have some stuff to mess around with, and not just the hammer and the assault rifle.
Right.
Get the fun toys.
Yeah, this is actually we're starting off basically the same spot we did in the 10th anniversary thing, just because I felt like it would be for people who go back and look at the other stream, it's a decent comparison, I think, between the PC version and the Switch version. There are a couple differences in the Switch version. There's two different performance modes in the Switch version. There's a high performance mode and a resolution mode, and we're currently in high performance. So this is prioritizing more frame rate and stuff like that, and sacrificing some graphical effects and stuff like that. But I mean, I've had to play this a decent amount, just to get back up here and test everything, and like, to be honest, this seems to be running pretty good for me. Like, it's, for some reason, just because the Switch is like...
Time to go mining.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just because the Switch is like handheld, you always think like, oh, like an open world title isn't going to work on that. And then it does. It's like, oh, wait, the Switch is like came out in 2016 or whatever.
Right.
But...
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with a game that was targeted on 10-year-old hardware at this point, so I'm not surprised. For everyone who's just if you haven't seen Red Faction Guerrilla before, it's a sad story about Alec Mason, layabout know nothing, who is at the end of his rope on Earth, and his brother gives him a job on Mars, and Alec pays him back by getting him killed in about the first 5 minutes. And then to add insult to injury, Alec steals his girlfriend. I mean, it's really kind of a sad Mario story with a bunch of side quests involving smacking things. And terrorism.
Anger management via sledgehammer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've run into...
You have remodeling, we have demodeling.
Yes. The fun part about this game was the destruction. Like, it was so hard to get this done. We were just talking before the stream started about all the things that we could see in the high-performance version, what's there and what's not there, and we started talking about the things we had to give up for this game, and I brought up the fact that there is, in fact, one light source, the one light source that makes the shadows in this game, and that's it. And back then, you would have 8, 16, maybe 24 light sources. We got one, and that was it, because anything more than one in the game just didn't run even at 30 frames a second, which is what we were targeting. So we had to do a lot of tricks, and we couldn't bake shadows, because you can't bake shadows on things that explode and fly by your face. Stop picking on people.
Yeah, when I first got hired at Volition, I saw the original tech, for Red Faction 1 that led to this. And back then, we could actually, in the rough version of the engine we had, we could do dynamic lights. You could break through a wall, light would come streaming through.
Oh man.
And that didn't last long once we actually started trying to make a game out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
There's tech demo and there's like, let's make a game. But yeah, I mean, there's a sun. What more do you need?
Right. I mean, there's not a lot of lights on Mars.
One light to rule them all.
Also, I have a request for the both of you, just because I forgot to look over and confirm this. Your names are displayed below you, but they're switched.
Oh, okay.
Both of you need to switch spots on the couch.
Okay. There we go.
All right, now
All
the
right.
names are correct.
Well, only the person in the right seat plays.
Oh, jeez.
It's 360 controls. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I played this. Oh.
Yeah,
shoot somebody.
I played the remastered version a little bit when it came out. I have not played this game hardcore.
I'm going to make some
probably
people out there
a
seasick, so
decade.
forgive me now.
Are you an inverted
they say?
player?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Let's climb up here. That can't go poorly. I love building these little buildings with the assets we were given just because they're so fun to blast apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came in. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, that's the button to die.
I don't think we had that in the
Don't
game.
press that, no.
No, there wasn't a to die button.
Now with Saints Row 3, we could push a button in Ragdoll.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't do insurance fraud in RFG.
Oh, man.
It's
Trying to imagine what that would even be like.
For me, having worked on all the Red Factions, 1, 2, RFG, and Armageddon, the thing we really got right, I feel, on Red Faction Guerrilla is we embraced the destruction technology.
Mm-hmm.
We really, I felt, learned how to use it in terms of gameplay. It wasn't an afterthought. It didn't have to be a gimmick. It was just part of the world. It was organic. Okay, change weapons. I just want to hit something. 2, 3. There we go. There we go.
Left trigger's over, or left trigger's overhand, right trigger's sidearm.
Blow it up. Blow it up. There we go. Remote charges are always
Charges,
fun.
Yes.
But in Red Faction 1, pretty much we would make anything destructible. I remember having to mark the terrain to say, oh, dig here because there's something cool back there. But that took some of the fun out of it to some degree. Then on Red Faction 2, we made very specific things destructible. I remember working on a wall that a fighter would rise up near a building and shoot through the windows and blast the wall behind you. We had rebar inside of things. It was much more precise in terms of what was destructible. But with Guerrilla, we came down to simply saying, okay, if it's man-made, you can destroy it. If it's terrain, you can't. So that made things a lot easier for us. And it made it easier for the player to understand. I remember trying to talk about materials way back then when we really didn't have shaders to speak of. And saying, how's the player going to understand, what they can and what they cannot destroy. But with Guerrilla, we've hit that nail on the head. And it really, to me, gave the player the freedom to do whatever they wanted. I think that was the big thing is, you could, as a level designer, I could lay out an area with a specific gameplay in mind. And some players would follow that route. But at the same time, they could make their own path and circumvent certain things, at least in terms of choosing to outflank the enemy and things like that. Oh, there we go. Now we're going to have fun. Well, yeah, there we go.
That was good. That was excellent.
Nice.
Excellent.
Come back. There's no
act-
AAA on Mars.
Yeah. If you give me the control, I can take us
Yes.
to a mission that we've actually several missions to kind of show off how this runs on the Switch a bit. Another thing I should mention real quick that's been added is I have it off at the moment, but if we go over to controls, they've added gyro controls.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they let you change the sensitivity and turn it on and off separately for third-person vehicles and in turrets, so you can have them on or off for any combination of those. But this is, I feel like, until you've gotten used to doing this type of thing, it's like, oh, that sounds like it's weird. But if you play a lot of Splatoon on the Switch or something, just doing this with the controller to aim, or at least fine tune aiming a little bit. After a little bit, it starts to feel pretty natural, and I kind of prefer with certain games. I feel like with RFG, I feel like you don't have to be you're not a sniper. You just hit everything with a big ass hammer and remote charges. But still, when using the rifle and stuff, it can be kind of helpful. Let's see which thing you want to go to here. Got that. That's the closest one. We'll do that. So yeah, when you two were working on this game, like you talked about that there were some big sacrifices that had to get made, you know, like with the lighting and stuff, just to get this thing to run. Were there any other like really big cuts that had to be made?
From a level design perspective, it was really just about simplicity. You know, we could only do so much, but that was okay just from a gameplay. I mean, yeah, you want to make things look nicer. I mean, that's art driven as well. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, these things actually all serve a purpose, you know, in terms of the gameplay experience.
Right.
So for me, that was, you know, in the end, that was a willing exchange. This project's actually, I've worked on this project longer than any other project, 3 years and 9 months.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I was like one of the first 5 people on it, so I was on it for the long haul. And I remember when we were working on the editor, the person that was designing it at the time didn't really want to put terrain modeling into the editor.
Yeah.
They were kind of against that. So eventually we got height map, you know, we had the ability to create height maps in there. And I actually went on NASA's website and downloaded what they call DEMs, Digital Elevation Models,
yep.
of the surface of Mars.
Yeah.
And I was able to import them and start playing around with that. So just like as a quick way to do terrain. It's the first time I ever really played with anything like that, so it was really cool. But, you know, we could have, you know, Olympus Mons, the biggest, you know, biggest mountain on Mars. It's monstrous. We could have it in there. It just would have been the whole map and then some. Now, Josh is showing part of what I liked about this game myself is you could give the player a simple objective, go here and do this thing.
Yeah.
And you could set up guards and turrets and any other obstacles you wanted to, but then the player could decide, how do I want to approach this? Mm-hmm. You know, enemies could be stationed somewhere, they could be moving around, so your threats be moving dynamically. But then you could decide, okay, this guy's over here, I want to outflank him, I blast through that wall, boom, I got him. That to me is what made it really fun. We learned some of that early on in Red Faction 1 with multiplayer. The multiplayer maps were awesome. I remember one of the designers created a capture the flag map, and we made a wall destructible, but there was actually like fencing inside of it. So you could destroy it, you could see through it, but you couldn't get through it. So it changed the flow of the map over time. That's really the big thing, is letting the player decide how they really want to play it. Because doing destruction would take time and resources at some level. Oh, the walker.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Love this thing with the diesel fumes.
Yes.
On the art and tech side, it wasn't that we gave up a lot. I mean, giving up all but one light source was pretty big.
Yeah. Was that like the biggest sacrifice you had to make?
It was the biggest sacrifice we knew about at the outset. The rest of it, and I got on the project 18 months, 2 years before it shipped.
Yeah.
Joined Volition within about 3 weeks. I've moved from being a technical artist to the tech art director on this. And they're like, make the destruction look good and make it so we can actually get the destruction made. Kind of an open-ended mandate.
Yeah.
And what it was really was, we wanted to hit 30 frames a second, and we wanted to make sure that it was going to run on the PS3 and the 360, but we also didn't want to back off so far on anything that there was any performance left over. I'm actually somewhat surprised that an average Xbox 360 or PS3 didn't burst into flames playing this game. Because you come in one day and you'd be completely CPU bound, and the GPU would have a ton of free cycles. And you're like, okay, well, let's add, you know, some more shader complexity, or let's add this or that. And the next day you'd come in and the GPU would be completely overloaded, and the CPU would have a ton of stuff available to do. And all project long, it was just back and forth on this stuff, because we wanted to make sure that we were getting as close to the bleeding edge on performance on everything we could every step of the way.
Yeah.
Because that was the only way we were going to make everything work, because destruction was a complete unknown. And a lot of the destruction engine work continued on almost till the day the game shipped. And we wanted to do this, we want to do that, and you try new things. Like you go up to a concrete wall with a hammer and you hit it, and the first thing that happens is all of the blocks that you've hit sort of shift a little bit and turn. That was a very simple thing to do, but that came in very late. We just hadn't thought to do it. But just adding a little bit of random rotation to all the pieces sells the effect so much more. I mean, I'm spending all my time writing tools so that the artists don't have to model each individual block, that they can just make a wall and it's going to break it apart and add
Shardifying, right?
Shardifying, add all the interior details. I did the concrete and the rebar. Another technical artist did the carbon fiber, and there's like 5 different destructible materials in here, and they were hard. And we were trying to do some things with shaders that hadn't been done before, and it was very near the end of development that we determined that I think it was the 360's shader pipeline was far better at raw math. And the PS3 shader pipeline was better at image lookups, or vice versa. I forget which was which. And the shaders that we were using to add a lot of detail in were very math heavy on these equations. And so they were running really well on one platform, and they really weren't running that well on the other platform. And so we took the step of actually running the algorithms that we had in the shaders for some of these lookup tables and plotting them out as textures with like graphs on them and gradients and various other things, and set it up so that the one platform would look up the answer from looking at the image in the shader pipeline, and the other platform would actually run the math to come up with the answer, and then actually equalize performance. And so it was all sorts of little different platform tricks that we had to do to make sure that we could get this thing to run. And it was... I don't want to say it was a fight, like a negative thing. It was, you really had to push your skills to the limit every day of the job to keep this thing right where we want it in terms of performance and visuals. And it was a super great feeling when it was done and it turned out like this.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like multiplayer and weapons, and you're mentioning the hammer and the gun. The video that I saw shortly after the game shipped, one of the missions is you have to take out a big bridge.
Yep.
And the video was this guy was playing, and he had the rocket launcher, and he's just standing. You got to blow the bridge up before an EDF convoy gets there, and he's just standing by the bridge. And he's just standing there, and you can see the EDF convoy coming the other way, and just as they're about to get to the bridge, an EDF flyer goes over. This guy takes the rocket launcher and practically from his hip, lobs a rocket at the EDF flyer, hits it, and the flyer spirals out of control, takes the bridge out just as the first truck gets to it, and the whole convoy, the whole bridge just collapses underneath him. And that was the players that played the game like that, I bet, got the most enjoyment.
It was that
out of this.
Goldbergian aspect.
Yeah. You're fighting for the freedom of your people as you don't have the military industrial complex, so you're making use of everything you have around you.
Yep.
And the players that got into that, it's such an experience.
That were a Guerrilla.
Yeah.
You talk about the technical art aspects you had to deal with on the world design side. I remember having to get reports all the time of, like, literally, like, I think it came down to they were Excel driven or text file driven of memory usage in the game. Like, somebody checked something in, blew the memory. Where was it? What is it? Who did it? So you can undo it. It's like a big game like this that's so open. Things become very fragile in some cases because you can take a lamppost or a sign on the side of the road and. You make some material change, or you increase, the poly count, and suddenly it doubles in memory size, and that thing's all over the world, and now suddenly the whole world's broken. We've got better tools now for avoiding that, but back then we just basically had to use, an abacus and our fingers to make sure that it all worked.
Oh,
But
jeez.
a lot of the tools that we have now, and I mean, we had the memory report system you referred to, that happens automatically on every check-in now.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we have here to develop open world games now came as a result of some of the prototypical tools that we were writing to get this game out the door. Back on Red Faction Guerrilla, we called them default options, DOPT-X's, or whatever they were called. But
DOPT-X's.
People that work with Unreal and Unity now know them as prefabs and blueprints. And we have a prefab system, and it is a technological descendant of the things that we did, because we weren't going to get this game out the door if we weren't able to instance objects and then layer modifications on top of placed instances. And so that entire concept for us came out of this game. Memory reports came out of this game. Nightly recrunches of the entire game with a bunch of verification checks to make sure that the build didn't break. A lot of all that stuff that we take for granted now here at Volition, and a lot of other studios have put into their development pipelines, we were really discovering the hard way on this game. And so there were a lot of benefits, not only for getting the game out the door, but for the things that we still do here a decade later because of this. It's a great game.
I remember having to work with programmers to deal with the nav mesh part of it in terms of like just getting nav mesh to work on things that could be destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so the nav mesh itself, which is basically just another a layer of data on top of the entire world. It lets the AI know where they can and cannot go. We had to basically set it up so when you destroyed something that the AI could walk on, they couldn't walk on it anymore. Yep. Otherwise, they'd be doing a Wile E. Coyote off of every bridge and everything they'd run across. One of the things that really kicked in for me on this game is when we internally came up with the concept of targets. I don't remember what we ended up calling them in the game. I think they were just like destruction targets, but the idea was the first one was, I can see it in my head what it looks like. I don't remember where it is in the world, but there's an EDF executive staying in this building up on a little hill, and he's being guarded by some EDF soldiers. There's a turret at the end of the road and a bunker. There's a couple smaller buildings off to your left, and you could not get to him just by driving up to it. We had it blocked off. So basically at that point I had guards walking around patrolling, and it was just a question of, how do you want to get this guy out? Like, can you get to the turret, not destroy it, use it to your advantage? Do you want to just blast through this building, use it as cover to outflank them? We placed some restrictions on there so the player couldn't just, blow by things, because that wouldn't be any fun. But just the idea of putting the pieces in place and let the systems play together is what made it a lot of fun to me. That gave it that emergent gameplay. Yep. Like Jeff was talking about, where the player shot down the EDF flyer.
Yeah. Also, does anyone else want to play this part? You want to do a little bit here?
One other big thing, now that my memory's being jogged, that we were absolutely not allowed to have in this game until we were, was reflection maps.
Yeah.
We were not allowed to have reflection maps. It just wasn't going to work. And that was fine because there's really not a lot of reflective surfaces out here. But then late in development, we decided we were going to do the EOS sector. Mm-hmm. And the architecture in EOS is all chrome and glass. And it was not going to work without reflection maps. And we had gotten that far, and the tech art team, we hadn't bothered to write a tool to make cubic reflection map images because we didn't need it. And now suddenly we needed it. And if you play EOS, you'll see some really nice reflection maps that are very indicative of the zone around the object you're looking at. I had to fly around the game in God mode, essentially, and then find a good spot, and then run a bunch of commands in the console to rotate the camera 90 degrees in 6 different directions, take a bunch of screenshots, and then go into Photoshop and crop them together into a cubic reflection map at the right size and the right resolution. And I think there's like a dozen different reflection maps in that zone. And once we were told we could do it, we went a little overboard with it. But we had an issue during development for about a month where the AI would get into vehicles, and they would just go out of their way to run over pedestrians. It's just one of those. It's just one of those things that happens in open world development, right? And they'd hop in a truck, and there'd be a bunch of pedestrians walking around, and the truck would swerve out of the way and would just mow them over, and then go on about its merry way. And this was happening a lot. And so I'm in God mode, looking down on the world in EOS one morning, trying to find a good spot to get more reflection maps. And I'm following a road, and there's a bunch of peds walking along the road, and a pickup truck goes by them. Actually swerves out of their way and goes by them. And I have just enough time to think, we must have fixed the runover bug. And then the reverse lights come on in the pickup truck, and it backs up and runs over them all. And then the reverse lights go off.
Oh, no.
And the truck just goes on its merry way. And I'm like, nope, didn't fix it.
Knew I forgot something. We made it better.
Man.
And there's things like that in you get the circular saw launching gun.
Yeah.
I think this is still in the game. And if you get down crouched and you shoot at just the right angle at a ped's neck and chin, when the saw hits them, you can send them flying hundreds of yards downfield.
Oh man.
I wanted to put in the game where it actually throw out a virtual measuring tape and then give you a score for how far you put them. Because if you get it right, you can send those poor guys going really far. Multiplayer, we never thought about this, but the capture the flag mode, the players would destroy the obelisk thing that you're supposed to destroy, and then put one of their players in it with the railgun, and then run the healing gun on it. And since the railgun shoots through walls, now your own player is in the thing that the other team is trying to take down, and he is shooting out of it, and they know where the other shooter is. Or they would open it up and throw a bunch of det packs in it, and heal it back up, and then the other team would run up with a sledgehammer and smack it, and the whole team would explode. The things people were doing in multiplayer, a lot of it we never conceived of, and it was so funny to watch it all develop.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was kind of.
I remember early on in the project working with concept artists, basically coming up with simple thumbnails of structure forms we could use that would help to enhance the destruction behavior. Overhangs and things like that, and the way things are stuck on the side of a cliff. I mean, they got what we were trying to do, but it was a matter of balancing, the aesthetic goals we had with the gameplay goals in terms of destruction, really getting them to work. And that took a little bit of trial and error, but I think eventually we got it, because we had things that would seem to behave well and still look decent for the type of environment we were shooting for. It's obviously very rustic.
It still just seems like, no matter how many times I see it, it just feels crazy to see a game like have this level of destruction. Like, there are definitely other games since then that have had some form of destruction systems, but I feel like nothing's ever still been this scale.
Yeah.
Like the whole game, it's usually here's a mode or a side, or it's a multiplayer map where it's fairly small.
Destruction has gotten a little commonplace now, which is good.
Yeah.
But in this game, it wasn't necessarily the breaking apart of things. It's the fact that when you look at this pipe, all of the pieces that it can break into and this pole that it's sitting on, they are all, in fact, connected with a stress network. So as I'm hitting this, I'm not just knocking that pole out. I am actually taking out the parts of this thing that will hold it together. And then you get the secondary actions of it collapsing like that because I took the leg out. That's the thing that other people have not ever attempted since this game came out, and we haven't attempted since it came out. And we did this a decade ago. It's pretty mind-blowing that we pulled it off. At one point, because the Geomod 2 engine is based off of Havoc. At one point, the Havoc engineers were looking at what we'd done, and they were basically like, that's not possible. I'm like, well, it is. It works, and it works really well.
The stress network made a huge difference. I mean, coming from RF1 and RF2, it just made all the difference in the world of making that destruction really feel realistic. I remember, quite a few players started latching on to the concept of, let's take this truck, load it up with the propane tanks, and then drive it into a building and watch it go kaboom. That was a great thing. One of the things about RFG's destruction that really got me as a player, I mean, I made the game, but I played it, is it felt very intimate. What I mean by that is, it's not just like I shoot something and it explodes, I shoot a rocket, it explodes. No, I go up with a sledgehammer and I hit something and it just gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just didn't feel, it made it feel a lot less canned. I think, to me, it made it more precise. Be able to just go through a wall.
Wow, yeah.
Do nothing. Just go through that wall and get somebody. This world was pretty big.
It was.
It was sparse in some cases, but it was big. I mean, that was the technology we had back then. Oh my God, I remember those pipes so much.
Oh yeah. They blow up good. All right, pass the controller time. All right. I remember I had only done MMOs before I got here, so I'd never done a console game.
What MMOs had you worked on in the past?
The one most recently before I got here was Dark Age of Camelot.
Okay,
I worked on some of the expansions for that. I worked on the original Planet side, and then before that, I did a lot of MMOs that people probably don't remember anymore. A little bit of work on Ultima Online after EA bought the company I was working for in Virginia. But from 95 up until I got here in 2006 or so, it was all MMOs. And so I never really thought about memory because they're all PC based. One day I'm driving around, they put there's a big long yellow pickup dump truck type thing in the game.
Yeah.
And I took a building out by backing the dump truck into the corner of it repeatedly until it collapsed, and I loaded the dump truck up with rocks. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I've got parts of the building in the dump truck. And I go driving all over the map with the dump truck full of stuff. And eventually the game just crashes. And I go to the programmers, and I'm like, I did this thing and the game crashed, and I don't know what's going on. And I'm describing it, and the programmer in front of Open World, in charge of Open World, goes, "Oh, I guess we need to turn streaming off on objects that cross through zone boundaries." He's like, "You can't do that. You took one part."
What have you done?
He's like, you took one part of that building out of the zone it lived in, all the way across the map into three other zones, and that other zone is still completely loaded because you have that one piece in the back of your truck, and so we're not going to make it go away. He goes, you just ran out of memory, is what happened. And so we had to factor in that pieces would fade out if you took them out of their zone, and they do all decay after time anyways. But it was kind of funny. He's like, don't do that.
My turn.
Don't do that. Leave the pieces where they belong.
Yeah. So I thought it was just right. Oh no, it is there. It's just barely obscured.
My real chunk.
Yeah.
So the promotional picture we had for the stream this week.
Oh, my chunk.
You gotta put a face on it like Wilson.
No.
Yeah, you were holding that big chunk in the promo picture.
Yes.
So why do you have this big chunk?
I have this big chunk. The programmer that wrote the destruction system gave this to me one day. So I was all in charge of making art tools so that the artist didn't have to worry about making all of this detail.
Yeah.
They could just make a wall and then run a tool, and like that cement wall right in front of you. The tool would add in all of the interior detail, all of the cracks and nooks and crannies. And I had just gotten done adding the rebar. I mean, now we would call that procedural content generation. Back then it was, we have to do this. And during development, there was a lot of back and forth with what size should a chunk be for memory footprint, for CPU utilization, for GPU utilization, and for gameplay. We tried big chunks, we tried chunks as small as individual bricks, and it sort of honed in to where an optimal size chunk is about a ½ meter cubed. Mm-hmm. And during the development of Red Faction Guerrilla, they were excavating across the street from Volition, tearing down a bunch of old buildings to put up a new high-rise. And they had a big articulated bucket loader, and they were tearing this building down, and they got done for the day. And we all came in the next morning, and the bucket loader was on its side, half missing, because they had parked it on top of a basement. Mm-hmm. And the basement floor, the basement ceiling, the floor, the first floor, I don't think they knew the basement was there, and it collapsed overnight, and the bucket loader fell in. And so now there's just all sorts of stuff all over the place out there. And the programmer and some other guys walked by at lunch that day to go get sushi, and on the way back, the programmer saw this and realized that this is a physical representation of a Red Faction Guerrilla chunk. This is almost exactly a ½ meter on a side, and he knew that I was all into concrete and rebar because I was what I was doing, so he carried this back and put it on my desk, and I've had this for a decade now, and it's like one of my most favorite game memorabilia things, because this is what I made. Mm-hmm. We had a really weird spate of destruction-related stuff that happened around this building during the development of that game. Because after they excavated all of that and they started building this new high-rise, right across the street from that was this older building that this guy was renovating, and there was a gas leak one night.
Oh, jeez.
And, well, I guess it was more early in the morning.
Yep.
I was coming in about 5:30 in the morning and putting in about 10-hour days at that time. And I'm driving to work one morning. It was in the fall because it was already dark out. It was still dark out at 5:30, and like police and other cones and stuff are directing me all around downtown to get to the parking lot. And I'm not thinking about this. And I get upstairs and I start a pot of coffee and I sit at my desk, which was right by the window that was looking out on this street where this stuff was going on. And that's when I realized that there's this building shooting 50-foot flames up in the air.
Oh God!
I'm like, oh, that's why I got directed all over town. And the fire baked half of the south wall of the high-rise that was going up. It melted all of the ceiling of the street lamp globes. It took out all the awnings on our building and in front of the building south of us.
Holy crap.
And there were firemen putting that blaze out. There were firemen on the roof of this building and all the buildings around, just constantly spraying them down because the cinders falling off of this thing could have taken out most of downtown. And I'm oblivious to the whole thing. Just at work at 5:30, just like I got to get the destruction made.
It's a little warm in here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little orange out.
Yes.
All of the windows on the south side of this building cracked.
Yeah.
And they were held together by strips of duct tape for almost 9 months until the insurance companies got everything straightened out. It was like we were all working out of a prison because there's just these gray stripes across all the windows. It was a mess. It was a mess for a long time. And it took out the south wall of the high-rise that was being built, the one where the excavator built in. I had heard at one point that over 17 insurance companies were involved with trying to pay out to take the entire facade off of that south wall and rebuild it. Because it had baked out the building wrap underneath it. The heat had destroyed all of that, so the building wasn't going to get certified. Oh yeah, it was weird.
Man.
So yeah, I got my chunk. And I keep it on a shelf proudly by my desk.
Yes. So since it's like a little more than halfway through the stream here, we're actually going to be switching from high performance mode to high quality.
Oh, okay.
Just for people to see the difference for that. Also, like when you were holding that chunk for the promo picture, we should also mention it just happened. It was just a nice coincidence that like in the background, like the wall behind you is getting all torn up, and that's because there's a lot of construction happening on this floor right now. And so it was just like, I wasn't even thinking of that. I'm so glad one of you suggested just like, oh, we should be by the wall that's getting torn down in the kitchen.
Yeah, we're getting a new kitchen. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
And there's that new bagel toaster thing. I haven't tried it out
man.
yet.
Don has put a lot of rules on the bagel toaster.
I did see that there were some rules, but
And there's no Wi-Fi. What IT guy buys a toaster without Wi-Fi?
it's true. There's no toaster with Wi-Fi.
I want my phone to tell me when my toast is ready.
Well, see, I got hung up on where he said, act responsibly, don't do something that will burn the building down. And I'm like, Don, now you've limited us. What if there is a zombie apocalypse and it is centered on this building and the only way to save the universe is to burn the building down?
Yes.
Now you've told me that I can't use the toaster as a way to start the fire. And I feel I've been limited in my options.
Yeah, I got water in this book. Let's put it through the toaster oven.
I want to say, well, I think we need a how-to video on how to use the toaster, and I think we need to send a GoPro through.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
See it from the inside.
We have a question from Neolithic J in the chat asking, one question is, why do you still hold your hammer when you're dead in the game? It's just, I mean...
You will take that hammer, you will have to pry it from my cold, dead hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, with the amount of, like, if you look at this game, like, there are, like, you know, other people who are, like, mining from, like, you know, the big rocks, and, like, you smack those rocks, like, with one strike, and, like, you demolish it, while they're, like, spending, you know, hours, like, drilling away at it. I think he just has such a powerful grip that it just...
Arthritis. Just
Yeah. Like, he can't let go of the hammer anymore. It's part of him.
End of the day, he's just like this.
Well,
Yeah. Easy ride my motorcycle.
Yes.
he is the most recent emigrant from Earth, and so he probably still has Earth-level strength.
That's
Yeah, he has
true,
Earth
yeah.
muscles,
Lower
right.
gravity
He
on,
hasn't atrophied.
Mars, yeah.
He hasn't acclimated yet. Plus, he's just full of rage because he got his brother killed about 10 minutes after
Yes.
landing on Mars.
Yeah, that too. Actually, let's go to something a little closer.
Man, this world was huge.
Yeah, look, zooming out on this map, it's real big.
It's very foggy on Mars.
Yeah, like, I mean, up to this point in the game, like, I didn't just do the missions, I did a decent amount of side stuff and, you know, getting some extra salvage so that we had the rocket launcher and the arc welder and stuff for the stream. And that was, like, you know, I don't know, 3 hours
I was
maybe?
going to say, that's a couple hours of work.
Yeah. Yeah, despite playing this game, you know, maybe not all the way to completion multiple times, but definitely like starting this game over a couple times just every couple of years, just for a little bit. It's like the core loop of just blowing stuff up and gaining salvage, just getting more stuff, like, doesn't really get tiring for me. Like,
No, because you can hit the same building 5 different times,
yeah.
and you're going to get a slightly different result each time. Like, the replayability is kind of built in with the non-deterministic nature of the destruction system.
Yeah, and that's where like modes like Wrecking Crew come from. I mean, we've done that, and we did it in Red Faction Guerrilla, Red Faction Armageddon. We came up with gameplay modes just centered around things we learned from playing with destruction.
Yeah.
Because in and of itself, it was fun.
I loved Wrecking Crew. Red Faction Guerrilla was one of the first.
Whoa.
It was one of the first games I was involved with that did outsourcing, and I think Volition did some building creation on Saints Row 1, and they were getting deeper into it with Saints Row 2, and so we ended up using a company in China called Winking. And the edict that I had to, the mandate I had to try to fulfill for Red Faction Guerrilla is we wanted Winking to be able to deliver to us built, textured, and fragmented buildings that we could drop in the game and use. We didn't want them to just do the modeling of the building and then have to handle all of the destruction rigging on this end. And so I was going over to Shanghai about once every year to do tech checks and see how things are going. Went over the first time, got it all set up. An environment artist and I went over and was showing him how to do everything. And then went back 9 months, maybe a year later, maybe a little less than that. And we walk in the same room and it's all the same artist, but they're all around an Xbox 360. And you have to remember that consoles weren't really allowed in China at this time.
Yeah.
And so development houses had them, and so they were kind of special things. they're all centered around, they're all like playing, which is weird because you always see them working. They were all standing around an Xbox 360 and they had a whiteboard. And there were names and numbers on it. And so I'm talking to the producer, and she's explaining to me that what they had done is they had built their own level. And it was really just a flat plane they could use to drop objects in and then see how the destruction would work.
Yeah.
But they had come up with a scoring system. And they use it like a stopwatch. They would give each one of them, a minute or two to do as much destruction in this level as possible, and then they would write their score on the board.
That's great.
And I came back and I told the designers all about this, and that was the germination. That was where the idea of Wrecking Crew kind of started.
Huh.
Yeah. And it's such a great couch co-op game. It's sort of like Burnout Paradise, but with hammers and explosives.
We have Matrix Vinci in the chat saying, we need glamour shots of the official Volition chunk.
Does he mean like those really bad mall-based boudoir
like
shots
Olin Mills
with
and
like
things
the
like that,
the Vaseline on the screen? I don't.
I mean, I just recently got a bunch of new video equipment and like a nice camera. I can get some really nice looking glamour shots of that chunk later.
All right.
You should make it your Wilson.
We're not painting a face on the chunk.
Call it Arnold.
No. The chunk is the chunk. I have my little model walker, and it stands on the chunk.
Ah, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
We got those messenger bags.
Mm-hmm.
I gave mine to one of my friend's sons who was a big fan of the game. I kind of regret that at some point, but not really. It was a nice bag.
Watching you guys blow stuff up in here, I'm remembering little details like all the EDF materials where we put that little feathered edge on the side.
The carbon composite
fiber.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
That was tough. That was Nate Turner. He's a tech artist. He still works here. He worked on that. That was probably harder than concrete because of the way everything had to be layered really close and not Z-fight with itself. There was that. There was just getting the metal, adding dents and dings before the metal would bend. And it's amazing how much detail you have to put into breaking things, which was so much fun.
I think working on this game really helped Volition better understand open world as a whole because of the level of freedom we gave the player. I mean, obviously our Saints Row games give you a lot of freedom, in terms of character customization, what do you do when you want to do it, things like that, but really letting the player control where they can go in the environment made a huge difference, in terms of just our design mentality, understanding that, if you really can't constrain the player, don't try to do it at all.
Right.
Subsequent RFG games, we didn't always have that mentality, but on this one, we really just nailed it completely. It's a tricky thing, letting go of that control and giving it to the player, but
Yeah.
it's much easier.
We were looking at the editor code base for this, even...
That looks like Illinois.
It does. Wind farms.
Yeah.
As I understand it, we were looking at the editor code base for this even within the past year because we were wanting to add that level of terrain generation into our current editor. Mm-hmm. And we were wondering if we could pull the code out of... The editor for Red Faction was called Chloe. I forget what the acronym was. But we were wondering if we
I had it named after my cat. That's why I brought it up.
Oh, really?
I had a cat. Yeah.
I thought it was an acronym for something.
It's layout, object editor, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But we went a different path. We actually tied our editor in with a commercial product called Houdini and are using the terrain tools in there. But we took a serious look at it because we're like, you know what? We've got the tech, and a lot of our code base generates and comes from Saints Row and this and everything moving down, so we probably could have implemented it.
Yeah.
The only thing aesthetically that sticks out to me is the lack of blend on the actual rock meshes we have in the world. It's the only thing that sticks out. Everything else looks really good.
Yeah, couldn't do that.
No, back then that was just too tough to do.
We're not gonna do that and have destruction. No, I mean I gave a whole GDC talk with the programmer who wrote the destruction engine, and it was all centered on you can do this, but if you do, here are the things you have to throw away. Here are the things you can't consider. It was a good talk. It was fun letting the industry know. And then that year at GDC, this game was nominated in the category in the Game Developer Choice Awards for Best New Technology, and we lost out to Uncharted 2. Which still boggles my mind to this day. I'm like, what did they do? A better eye shader?
Good old Dust.
Good old Dust.
Damn it. He escaped.
Oh no.
I'm really boning up the gameplay in this stream.
Well, it's a planet. He can't go far.
It's true. I'll find him again.
I can only imagine what we could do making a game like this today in terms of density.
Oh. We could probably have 2 light sources.
Probably 2.
Only one Shadowcaster, though. I like at night the EDF guys that have the helmet with the big side lights on them.
Yeah.
They're kind of evil looking.
Those bulletin boards, the propaganda.
Oh yeah. It's so.
It's got that Cold War feel to it in some cases.
It
That definitely
does.
was an inspiration.
The combination of high tech and low tech I always liked in this game.
Something that always struck me with this game too, was, I mean, Mars is very orange and red, but
Yep.
overall, with the lighting and stuff, everything's pretty cool. Although I know there are different types of areas later on, but that always struck me as interesting because every time there was something Mars, it's just let's make it as orange as fucking possible,
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
Because it's the red planet.
Yeah.
Right. And even then, we still took it a bit hard in some reviews about how it was all very monochromatic and bland. And it's Mars.
There we go. So we just hit a palette shift right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and when you get to Eos, it's very green because Eos is the terraformed sector.
Yep. I remember putting in all these mountains too, just at least the rough versions of them, just using that terrain tool to pull the terrain up and push it down, getting the roads in place. If I remember correctly, we actually put in some type of tool for getting those roads flat.
Oh yeah.
Versus trying to paint it.
Huh.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's the Chloe, along with the pushing and pulling to get the height field, they added in all of those modifiers.
Right.
There was the erosion modifier and the road smoother.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff was in there for sure.
Yeah, I remember that was a real pain to try to get stuff smooth enough for cars to drive on it.
Yep. Oh yeah. The things would get bouncy. Where are we heading? I used to know this world.
Yeah.
I haven't played this.
This is actually I did it by accident. I just started another story mission, but it's actually one we did in the previous stream as well.
Oh,
where
I
you're
remember
following
this.
the Marauders.
Marauders, that's right.
All right.
Yeah, and there's the hologram wall you go through and stuff.
Well, they made a return appearance in some DLC. There we go. There's the hologram wall.
Yep.
What a great shader.
You're not gonna believe this. The Marauders drove right through a rock.
Say again.
Must be a hologram, but where did they get that technology?
Go in there and see what you can find out.
Yeah, I remember there being something about some crazy guy that lived near a crater or a giant hole out there. A prospector of some sort.
Crazy,
It's just,
yeah.
yeah. What's that?
Was that Crazy Parker?
It might be Crazy Parker.
Yeah, I think it was.
Crazy Parker.
It was that's how we brought Crazy Parker forward from the first game. Or Parker, I should say. He wasn't crazy then.
Yes.
He's crazy now.
Yes. We still have at the company when people accidentally reply all to an email
Yes.
they shouldn't.
Yep.
We have a little image we attach with that which has Crazy Parker pointing at something.
Yeah,
reply to all with a big X through it.
Yeah. I talked to the head IT once because there had been a lot of Crazy Parker emails because people were replying to everything, and I'd found that Microsoft offers a plugin to Exchange Server that will remove the reply all button to all the Outlook clients connected to it.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, Don, let's just. And the IT director's like, why? Why would I do that when it's so much more fun this way?
Now, maybe you can fill in a blank here for me, but I remember correctly, we had a tool in the editor where we could essentially apply destruction to objects when they loaded, right? So we could pre-destroy things.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. That
Yeah,
was
it
one of
basically
that.
a volume we had to work.
Yeah,
with.
that was one of the benefits of having the.
The Shardify tool.
Well, not the Shardify tool, sort of the precursor to prefabs, was that
Right.
you could load in one of the default options and put two of them next to each other and then say, go ahead and destroy this one, but don't destroy that one, even though they're two instances of the same object.
Right.
That's how we got away with that.
Yeah, and it was relatively predictable, just because you basically chose the volume of space you wanted to affect.
Right. And I think there was an intensity you could apply to it, too,
Yeah.
for how much destruction you wanted. Right, so all these pre-destroyed things, we didn't
Yeah,
build pre-destroyed
exactly.
things.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, we only ever built finished objects.
But that was the beauty of it. It's like,
Right.
I want this destroyed. I want it destroyed here. Just go ahead and do it. And it made it nice because even in the cases where we were making more complex things out of multiple pieces, we could just copy and paste those and then just apply the destruction modifier to it and it would just happen.
Yep.
That sort of harkens back to the original Red Faction 1 technology where we had that Boolean carver that you'd send into the world.
Oh, yeah.
You'd shoot your weapon out into the world, and when it hit something, we essentially would create this. I forget exactly what type of geometry it was. It was a sphere, a multi-sided sphere, and
Dodecahedron.
a dodecahedron, and that would basically just carve out a hole in the world.
There's your geometry
in real
lesson
time.
for the day.
Yes, dodecahedron. This was a lot more predictable. It was nicer, just in
Right.
terms of behavior and controlling counts and things like that. But
Yeah.
But we used a very similar technology to that in the Rhino backpack in multiplayer. I kept arguing, I guess no one ever takes me seriously, that we should have worked with the Kool-Aid people and had the carver be the shape of the Kool-Aid guy.
Yeah.
And when you activated Rhino, you should have said, "Oh yeah," before you busted through the wall. It would have been good product placement.
Yeah, on the last stream, we actually had that backpack. We're using it in this mission.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom using backpacks in single player. That would make things pretty fun.
It's pretty great.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Like, it's pretty fun, especially that one. Any mission where there's like a decent amount of walls to go through, like.
I always like taking what was the Ripper? Is that the name of the gun that has the saw blade?
yes,
I always in multiplayer like getting the Ripper and the jetpack backpack because the game actually had a very Tribes feel once you did that. And it like I think we even tuned it. It felt very Tribes-like in control when you were doing that. I'm gonna have to play the remastered version and put the backpacks on.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, when both of you were working on this, what was the thing you personally worked on the most that you think you were happiest with, like how it turned out in the end? Like any specific thing?
well, I think. But the most specific thing I could get about, the thing I could get most specific about is just the whole idea of targets. Like,
Yeah.
taking the stuff we built for other parts of the game, for missions and things like that, and just creating a simple layout, giving the player a simple objective, and letting them go. Because from our end, it was incredibly inexpensive to develop.
Right.
And there was tons of flexibility in terms of what we could do, but for the player, it was also very fun too, because they could approach it from a bunch of different ways. It's not like your typical linear mission where you have to go down this path and do this thing. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you have these tools, get that thing any way you want. That to me made the game a lot of fun. Period. I mean, because it's, yeah.
Definitely working on the tooling, and it wasn't just me. There were a lot of TAs involved.
Yeah.
But working on the tooling such that the artist didn't have to think that much differently about how to build a building or a prop or a vehicle for this game than any other game. And the tools took care of everything else that made this game what it was. And like I said before, to the point that we were able to give that tooling to an overseas outsourcer in Shanghai, and they're delivering us game-ready assets that we could just drop in the game, and they
Yeah.
just worked. The pipeline, I learned a lot about how to make effective art pipelines by cutting my teeth on this project.
I saw like the world's biggest flathead screw in that pillar back there. I wanted to say something about it, but it's
It's gigantic. Well, it's a safety thing. That way people can't just take it apart, because you can't just go down to the Harbor Freight and buy that screwdriver. I mean, if you could at the Harbor Freight, it would still
like
only
a
be
Martian
$5.
screw. Yeah.
But they'll put a Harbor Freight on Mars. Oh yeah, people want their $20 electric drill.
I actually went to a Harbor Freight for the first time a few months ago with my son, and we just bought a tarp and some cheap gloves. But yeah, it's like, don't buy anything you might lose a finger.
Yeah, don't buy an arc welder at Harbor Freight.
No.
It's personal opinion.
Yep.
But hand tools, absolutely.
Got some people in the chat just talking about the differences between RFG's open world and RFA's more linear thing. What was it like working on RFA after RFG?
Well, on RFA, I worked on the co-op element. I didn't actually work on the single player. I was finishing up some other stuff. But, that game, I wish we'd gone a different direction, in terms of what it was. It was a good game, but it didn't really, in my opinion, carry on with what we did. But that happens sometimes in development. You make a decision, you go down a path. It was a great game. But the co-op element, we definitely were able to work with the destruction a lot better, just because we work in co-op, we didn't have the same restrictions that you do have in single player. It's tricky when you're trying to tell a story in a world that is somewhat non-linear. The game by itself is linear. It's tricky. Working on co-op was nice. There was I think 6 of us in an office. That was it.
Huh.
It was me, an artist, a producer, a programmer. There weren't a lot of people.
I can see the frame rate on those tires suffers a little in high quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm staring right at him to notice it, though.
Yeah.
I didn't work on RFA. I was over building the first level of tooling in the current engine and editor to get Saints Row 3 up and running.
RFA did have a really good destruction, gameplay mode, like a separate arcade mode that we had to make in a very short period of time, like a month or two. Basically, the creative director from THQ came to us and said, we need another mode, come up with something. So we came up with a basic arcade mode where we could use all the tools we had in a destructible environment, and as you cause destruction, it created points. It's basically an offshoot of Wrecking Crew. But it was quick and it was easy, and it was a lot of fun. That's always a win for design.
And RFA made the leap to...
The stress engine got even better.
The stress engine got better, and we switched to the forward rendered rendering engine, and so they actually had no limit on light sources.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's amazing how much technology jumped even in really less than 2 years between the end of this game and the middle of production in that game, where they turned the forward rendered rendering engine on.
Incoming SATCOM from...
We watched that cutscene last.
I was gonna
we
say,
watched that cutscene last stream, actually.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're almost hitting an hour into the stream now. I guess before we wrap everything up, when we talk to our developers here, we always ask them a couple more personal things, like what do you two do outside of work? What are you guys into?
I will play guitar when I have time.
Yeah.
Mostly I spend my time with my son when I have it. Right now I'm playing City Heroes again since it's out. Because that's my MMO addiction.
Oh, are you on one of the pirate servers?
They're private.
Private servers?
You can go on the internet and download stuff. No special weird places to go. It's out there, but yeah, it's back. So I have that addiction again. But yeah, I enjoy playing games. I'm also reading some of the latest Horus Heresy books from Warhammer 40,000.
Okay.
Yes.
You're into Warhammer?
I read those voraciously. Voraciously. I can't talk today. It's because I'm talking to people. People are out there looking at me. I'm not used to that. I enjoy doing that as well. That's pretty much it.
All right.
Life keeps me busy.
Yeah. How about you?
I have 2 daughters, and so a lot of my time is taken up with them. My wife and I own a small business in town that she runs, and so I spend some time helping her with that.
Okay.
I have a full wood shop in my garage. I do woodworking. I am not current, but I am a private pilot, and so when I can get back into that, I like to fly. My brother owns... race car is being generous. If anyone on the stream is listening and watching that knows about the 24-hour of Lemons racing series, you can't spend more than $500 on the base car.
Oh, I've heard of that thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that seems like fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's a mid-90s Ford Escort GT. We've been doing this for about 8 years, and so I fly out to Seattle and race with him once or twice a year. And right now I'm playing the crud out of Sea of Thieves. I've been playing Sea of Thieves almost nonstop since it released about a year ago. It's gotten really good, and it's a really fun open world game.
That's one I haven't been able to play at all yet, but I'm assuming with some other games recently, it's something it's been getting continually updated,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I play with some other technical artists around the industry. Oh, I'm also I'm on the GDC advisory board, so I do spend a good amount of time every year helping get the next show planned. I'm playing with some other technical artists that are working. They have jobs in the industry down in Austin, and we just get together every night and log on and take a boat out and do cartoony pirate shenanigans. It's fun. There's explosive kegs. It has destruction. It's near and dear to my heart because of that.
Can the ships get sunk? Is it because I haven't seen much of that game. Is it like destruction for the ships where it's like they get sunk, like they take damage in different spots, or is that just okay?
You are in the middle of a battle. You are running around below deck, nailing planks to the
you're
walls.
patching it all
You're
up.
getting your bucket out and bailing water. In the latest update, you can now knock masts over. You can hit the anchor capstan and cause the anchor to go down, and you can actually,
That's cool.
if you hit the steering wheel, you can knock portions of the ship's wheel off, and then the ship will, until the other team fixes it, the ship will sort of just meander around the seas.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, it's good.
That's
fun.
great. And the other question for pretty much everyone who's on here right now, and if you haven't been watching our previous streams or you missed out, or just you always clicked like 5 minutes away before the end of the stream where we say this. We are working on a new game. Can't say much about it right now, but we can say how we feel about the project. And how do you guys feel about the project right now?
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I love working on our games. I've spent almost all my game development career here, so I've grown up with the studio, and I've been a part, small and large sometimes, of its evolution in terms of culture. And our love them or hate them, our games are unique. They have a character, and I really enjoy it. I'm excited to talk about it more when I can talk about it more.
Eventually.
Eventually, yes. But for now, Mama's the word.
Yeah.
When I go home at the end of the day, I forget what I'm working on, so I don't have to worry about saying anything.
That's handy.
Then I remember the next morning.
Yeah.
I'm over the moon excited for it. I'm incredibly excited for it because of the feeling I am getting around the studio. You've been here 15? No, longer.
Be 20 years in October.
20 years in October. I've been here 13 years now. And during the course of development of a game, you can feel the morale ebb and flow. And you can get a good idea of how people feel about the game you're working on based on just the overall mood in the studio. And the studio's taken a couple of hard hits recently. The morale just every day feels more and more positive to me around here.
Yeah.
Everyone's enthused about the game. Everyone's enthused about the support we're getting for making the game and the direction we're going with it. And the vibe in the studio hasn't felt this positive to me in quite a long time.
Quite a few years.
Yeah, and it's for that reason alone, I think we've got a really good thing coming out because everyone's pouring their heart and soul into it because everyone's super excited about what we're working on. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, like when I started working here again, like in early April this year, the difference was in morale, just being here, even just for a day, it was just wow, people are into this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's really exciting and cool to see.
Yeah, and it's great to hear you guys say things like that because working in design, we tend to, we're close to the vision. And we see what's coming next. We see what's at the end of the tunnel. We have to have that. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So even if, we're getting, the road is bumpy getting there, we still believe in what we're doing. And we try to sell that to you guys all the time.
Oh, yeah.
People outside of design. But, there is that bell curve, and that bell curve of, I believe, I don't believe, I believe, definitely goes lower for people outside of design. But we're also doing a better job of sharing that information with people too. Just say hey, look at the progress we made.
Yeah.
Look at this, look at that.
Yeah, and it's especially with this project, just feels every couple of days, I just especially for me because I'm just really interested in the project, so I'll just go out of my way, just look what other people are working on. It's just man, the stuff comes in fast.
Oh yes.
Right now, it's impressive.
It's not uncommon to come in the morning and fire up the tool to get the latest build from overnight and have it tell you that somewhere north of 50,000 files on your disk are going to change.
Yeah, every day, I go okay, let's just sync a build just so I don't have to sync it. I have two PCs with that, one's just not a gaming PC, so it doesn't run it very well. So I have another one that I use for capture, and I don't have to update that one near as much. So I updated it today, and it hadn't been updated for a month.
Oh,
so I had three. It was 350,000 files that had to sync. I was just well, I'll just let that go for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And I love that. Not that we're churning that much data, but to me, that's indicative of the engine we've built and the tools we've built on top of it allow for such iteration that the artists are and the designers and the programmers are so free to go explore and try new things and have the time
Yeah.
in their schedule to go explore and try new things. And that's what we're seeing in those numbers. We're seeing exploration, we're seeing innovation, and it's such a good feeling.
Yeah. All right, cool. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. That was some of RFG remastered on the Switch. We will be, well, actually, I was about to say we stream every Thursday, but actually, July 4th is next Thursday. Everyone's going to be gone.
We'll be here.
And so we won't be seeing you next week, but the week after
I'll be
we'll
streaming
back.
a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Live streaming.
Downloading a beer.
Yes.
Not next week, but the week after, we will be back with some more Volition streams, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific. If you ever miss out on our streams or want to watch some of our older ones, they are on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/VolitionTube. And once again, I was Josh Stinson, the video editor here. Today on the couch we had
Jeff Hanna?
And Matt Boynton.
And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you in 2 weeks.